welcome to another edition of the Tell the Truth podcast. Here with your host, D. Taylor, and
Hey
with our special guest this week, Willie Hilliard. He's running for the 3rd District City Council in Richmond, Virginia. Say hi to the people, Brother Willie.
What's up, Richmond?
So we're going to interview Willie and see why he want to run for the city council seat in the 3rd district. If you don't know, the 3rd district is mostly north side Richmond, Virginia, Gunner Park, little piece of Jackson Ward, and Brooklyn Park Boulevard, all that section. It's a huge election coming up, not only on the federal side, but also on the local side, the state side, and in your neighborhoods. And so we want to introduce you to a couple of candidates this year before we get started, before November 4th. Just in Virginia. In Virginia on Friday, early voting started, and we've seen some pictures that they was lying outside the courtroom, which is a good sign for early voting. So keep that up, or do your mail-in ballots. If you mail in your ballots, get it done out the way. All right, the rundown. What you got first, Sister Tyann?
We're a little late for this, but I just wanted to I don't know how we got past this story, or this might have been when we were on our little hiatus, but so in Norfolk, right up the street, there was a young woman. I'm gonna say she was a little bit upset. She drove to the mall and scoped out. Facebook don't need to see me. People recognized that she was scoping out some things, and there was a man that came out of the mall, and this young lady accelerated her vehicle and hit this young man. And of course he was injured right away, but apparently not enough for her. So she smoothly put the car in reverse and went in the other direction. And this man went flying in the air, making him even more injured. This young lady decided this was not enough. And so she got out of the car. Now, she hit another vehicle on her way to hit him the first time. And so she got out of the car and took the bumper that had fallen off the other vehicle and proceeded to wear this man out. So the people then began to panic. They waited until she started beating him with the bumper before they panicked. And it's like, oh Lord, something wrong. Not the fact that the man is bleeding in the parking lot. And so she proceeded to tell the story. You know how when you whoop your kids and you start talking at the same time. She proceeded to tell what was happening, why she was beating the man with the bumper. Now, while I'm telling this, and he did not pass away. He was near death, but he did not pass away. But she said she gave this man 19 years of her life.
19 years!
19 years of her life, and you decided to do this. Now, she didn't explain what this was, but apparently he already knew what this what it was. And my thing is, while I was reading this story, is this had, whatever it was, had to have happened multiple times, and this was her breaking point. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out, because sis knew she was going to jail, because what she did after she finished beating him with the bumper, she gets out of the car and leaned on the vehicle and just wait for the police to show up.
Oh, yeah, she knew.
She knew. She didn't attempt to run anywhere. She didn't care who was videotaping or watching. She just sat there, and when they showed up, she handed out her wrist, and they proceeded to take her to jail. So I want to know, number one, do you think she could possibly plead insanity? Number two, do you think that this young man, even though this was, I'm no way advocating domestic violence in any given manner, but do you think is there anything he could have done that would have justified this? Number two, and number three, How long you really think she finna get?
First of all, I think she's gonna get about 10 years.
Okay, that sounds
But I
reasonable.
think 8 is gonna be suspended.
Okay. 8?
Yeah, I think 8 gonna be suspended.
Okay.
What he might have done, that sounds like some other woman type stuff.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like some other woman
Yeah.
type stuff. And what was the second one?
Do you think she could use an insanity plea?
Nah, she can't use the insanity plea
She
because she knew she was going to jail.
Mhm.
She knew where he was gonna be at,
Right.
and she waited for the police.
She waited for the police. And my thing is, if she scoped him out at the mall, it was already premeditated.
Oh,
she
yeah.
knew what she was going to the mall to do.
Mm.
So yes, that was right up the street in Norfolk. There has been. I looked for an update. This happened in the middle of August, and I haven't seen an update
There
yet.
ain't no gonna be no.
But I'm waiting for an update. All right, that's that.
Black on black crime.
Second, we just want a quick review of the verses. So we know aunties showed up, Auntie Patty and Auntie Gladys, to sing their faces off, and they went tit for tat. I think Mother Gladys came out on top. That's just my opinion. What you think?
First of all, they should have had this on about 2 hours earlier. Ain't no people got to get up and go to work the next day.
They were on the West Coast,
They
right?
were on the West Coast,
Okay.
but you got to be. Most of your viewers and stuff come from the East,
That's true.
so you gotta put that thing a little. All verses need to start at least at 7:00.
Well, the ones that are on the East Coast, they're fine for us. See, you don't remember Kevin on stage? He was upset about that thing. He said, y'all can't keep asking me to come on later. We live in this world just like y'all do.
Look. Well, the only major market on the West Coast is Los Angeles.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
And on the East, you got New York, you got Philly, you got Florida, you got all the people watching your stuff, and it's on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So you got to make stuff a little bit more, convenient for us. Number one. Number two, I ain't listened to the whole thing.
I know you didn't.
Cause
There was football on.
There is dun 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 dun. It was football on, and it was the first week of the NFL season. So I was catching highlights. I was really not paying attention to all of it. But I did see Patty was doing the most.
The absolute most.
The most. And
Doesn't she?
you're right. She's always doing the most.
She was. The mirror was a lot.
Yeah.
The mirror situation was a lot.
And did you see the memes following with
I
the
did not. I didn't see any of the memes.
when they put the go-go beat behind Patty?
Oh, I did see that. I did see that.
So, but what I heard and what I thought, just like the last one with Brandy and Monica, I thought Brandy would have ran away with it. I thought Patty was gonna run away with this one,
Nope.
but Monica and Gladys showed up.
Yes,
and
they
showed
did.
off, and I believe the upset happened on both of those ones.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. She came out the box. Gladys came out the box singing live. Like, I don't need
I don't need
none of
this tracks.
this track.
We're gonna just sing.
I don't. What? And then Patty came in between. I think once she saw Gladys, was like, oh, okay, I'm getting ready to sing with this, and I'm not just gonna let it play, and we gonna sit here and listen to each other's track. Once she figured that out, she started singing as well. But she did. She showed up, and it was good. Who you think is next, or who would you like to see?
I would like to see a Janet Jackson versus Mariah Carey.
Really?
Mhm.
I gotta think about that one. Janet Jackson.
But I was listening to Spike Punch the other day. Shout out to Ahmed and Sean. Mary J does not want to do a versus.
Why do you think that is?
She said because there's a lot of it is just fake and is not genuine. She doesn't want to do a versus. But if you had Mary J, who would you put Mary J up against? And is Mary J underrated?
Yes,
No, I don't think so.
I think she is.
Worldwide? Not, because we love Mary J.
Right.
Worldwide? Because people didn't really, People didn't really get with Mary J until she did the song with Sam.
Sam Cooke. I mean, not Sam Cooke.
No.
Smith.
Sam Smith. And they was like, oh, who is this?
Mm-hmm.
The other side really ain't want rocking with Mary J. And then they saw her in Umbrella Academy and they thought, oh, let's listen to her music.
I don't even think they did it then. They just thought she was another actress. They they just went, you know. But I don't know who I would pair her up with. But I do think she's definitely not as international. I don't think.
I'd put her up against Faith.
That might be a good one.
I mean, Faith catalog might not be as extensive as
Yeah.
hers.
But you know, that's why Diddy signed Faith.
I know.
Because he couldn't get married out the Uptown. Contract.
Right.
Okay. But that might be her voice is underrated.
Faith.
But yes.
Yeah.
Faith is?
Her
I
voice
watched
is
it.
very much so under. Just like I'm not sure why Kiki is so underrated.
But Kiki, go ahead.
She hasn't put out a lot of music.
She hasn't, and I'm trying to. Is it her representation, or like I don't know what that is because the girl got a voice like
Man, she can
it's
sing.
unmatched.
Yes.
Kiki can
Yes.
sing.
Now, unless because remember that show she was on.
Did you say it?
That show she was on with the lady from Brownstone, Nikki Gilbert, and
The R&B Diva show.
yeah, she was on there, and she had a few issues, you know.
She had a lot of
So unless the people already know, you see, you know, sometimes you get blocked out of things
Mhm.
because your reputation precedes you, and people think you're a problem child. So that's the only other thing I can think of. But when you talk about unmatched talent, like that's Kiki Wyatt is just at the top.
Yeah, her or Layla Hathaway.
Layla Hathaway is underrated for some reason. Yeah,
Very.
for some reason.
And I just think it's what I do believe, just like with Mary J, it's some stuff that some artists are not going for.
That's true.
And you can't get over on them.
Yeah.
And so since you can't get over on them, they're not going to just fall for the banana and tailpipe type
Right.
stuff.
Yeah. Very true. That might be it. Okay. Well, that's all I had, and we just before we get because we want to leave plenty of room for the interview. I guess I would be remiss if I did not say rest in peace to RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Lord, of course, Agent Orange. Did not even let this woman's body get warm before he is trying to fill the Supreme Court justice seat before she can even, you know, get to where she going. So we're gonna let them get the technical stuff out the way. But yeah, she was a fighter for women's rights. I saw some stuff come out today. But I've never seen any receipts for her being, you know, changing her mind throughout her fight. As far as race goes, as far as I know, and all I've ever seen, and the research I've done up to thus far, she's been a fighter. And this woman literally would not give up her seat in retirement.
Nah, even as she's battling cancer.
So he would not. But as soon as she gone, they ain't even had time to broadcast it good, and he was like, I gotta fill this seat. So
Yeah, they trying to fill it before November, before
the election.
Yeah.
She, I mean, I pray to be as strong as her one day.
Right.
I mean, she held on for us.
She
as long
did.
as she could.
Yeah.
Long as she could.
And, I mean, we don't even deserve all that she's done for us.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I mean, we don't. So now we got to pick this man up.
Yeah.
Hopefully the Democrats will come to some kind of agreement to try to pull some stall tactics if necessary.
They gonna have
They're
to.
gonna have to.
They
They're
got
gonna
to
have
stall
to.
this to January.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah. They gonna have to.
Because what happens is, and that's what they tried to pull that same the Republicans tried to pull that same mess with Barack when he was trying to get his person installed. But yeah, they gonna have if the Democrats can't get this thing, because what we got less than 90 days, less than 60 days, right?
No, it's 44, 45 days.
If they can't stall for 44 days, all of them need to get new jobs.
For sure.
All of them need to get new jobs.
All right. Let's do this.
All right. Going into the interview portion of our program. If you have any questions, please, because we can't see the feed on the Facebook because it's a little bit too far away and my eyes
I
ain't
can
great.
see it. He ain't got his
Yeah, I
glasses
ain't got
on.
my
I don't know who he's showing off, but glasses just should be on.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know where my glasses are.
Great. Okay.
I've been looking for my glasses for 2 weeks.
Yep. Keep going.
And so, if you don't forget to also follow us, like us on YouTube, Tell the Truth Podcast, and I can see that one. So if you have any interviews or any questions for this candidate on that, please do not hesitate to ask. And here we go. Brother Willie, why did you decide at this time to run for the 3rd District?
I have been doing this work of community engagement probably for 15 years or better now within the city, specifically in Northside, but in the city as a whole. Probably being involved in probably every aspect of what's been going on, from education to business to economic development, to fighting for healthy food access within our community. So I just got to a point where I felt that our community wasn't moving any further with the representation that we had. So I felt that it was time for me to step up to the plate and actually do the work of community engagement and doing the work of fighting for our community. And I've been probably for the last 8 years been getting pushed to run for every office that's in the city, but I've always just said no. But now I think it's the right time, so I decided to jump in and give it a shot.
As we're starting to see our community change, as far as not only in the 3rd but also in the 6th, how do you combat or how do you help affordable housing in our district, in your district?
Well, it's a good question because I'm an affordable housing advocate, actually. So what we're doing, one of the programs, well, a lot of the seniors are probably our biggest focus, and there are several tax relief programs that the city offers. I think the issue is access for seniors because most of them are not internet savvy, so it really has to be done manually. And I don't think the city offers that assistance. I may be wrong, but I don't think so. I mean, I've done that for several folks myself. So, for the seniors, that's one of the things. Another program that we are looking at is the tax abatement program, which gives developers and buyers tax incentives that allow them to buy. They go in at a rate of whatever the initial house is valued at before renovation and stuff happens. And I would like to see those funds be put into a long-term homeowner program to assist these folks in trying to pay their taxes and keeping them in their homes. That's our number one. Number one concern is to keep our neighborhoods intact. So we want to keep our folks in these homes that we want to keep. And it's amazing because as I'm out here knocking on these doors and I'm going to houses that I grew up in, playing in, and there's all these strange people. So, I mean, I don't discourage that.
Right.
I mean, change is needed. But at the same time, we want to keep the fiber of our community the same. We want to keep the culture that we built over the years. We want to keep that intact and make sure that we don't lose the historical benefits and historical aspects of what we built over the years.
Okay.
For those who may not be, we hear about all these positions in our city. So can you give us a little bit more insight on what your position would entail?
As far as city council?
Yes.
I mean, for me, I would be the voice of the people.
Okay.
I would be probably actually a council person who actually works for the people. I mean, I've gotten to this point by being collaborative. We work being collaborative, we engage, and we empower people. So I would never let anything come down the pipe, no bills, no ordinances, without sitting down with my community and talking it out. Their welfare is my number one concern. So I don't want to, sidetrack them with anything. We would talk it out. If it works for you, then we'll move ahead. If it's not, then I will advocate against that. So that's just me, being the voice of the people.
How do you keep yourself grounded? We get a lot of political people when they first get in. It's all about the people. How would you keep yourself grounded and keeping it all about the people and not get caught up with the political riffraff?
Right. Well, first of all, I'm not a politician. I'm just not. I've been given a tag of community activist, and some people that gave me that tag probably look down on that, but
Barack Obama was
I know a community activist,
right,
who went all the way to the top.
Yes.
I mean, for me personally, I try to stay as humble as possible, but I grew up in the hood. I live in the hood. I work in the hood. If I try to get too big, trust me, somebody in the hood gonna bring me back. Yeah, but I mean, I've just always tried to be humble as possible because every time I've strayed away from that, I got burned. So, no, I won't get a big head. I'm too old for that at this point.
I believe that folks in the hood always got a way of making you, come on back down.
Yes, sir.
Come on. Remember who you are. Remember who we are.
Exactly.
With some of the issues that we've been seeing in our city is a lot of this gun violence. What would be your platform on how to curtail some of this gun violence that's going on in our city?
I mean, well, I would say like this. A lot of people talk about gun control, and I would just say it plainly. We've lost the fight for gun control. We can stop selling guns. They could stop selling guns, rather, right now, today. And this country is still saturated with them. So, I mean, honestly, we've lost the gun control fight. But I think it's just honest effort of going into these communities and building with folks and getting them to understand that there's a better way. But what we really need to do is give some real incentives, some real economic programs, some real jobs, some real education. Because most of these people out here doing these things are just fighting to eat. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, they've gotten caught up in the fact that you may be taking something off of my plate, and I'm not going to allow that. You know what I mean? So that turns into when we get these violent things, and then I think a lot of the youth is just a matter of really getting into their heads and talking to them and getting to understand what it is that drives you to want to pick up a gun.
Right.
So just really getting in there and doing the work of building with people. I mean, that's the only thing I think can actually start to really make an effect. But again, on the gun issue, we've lost that. So how do we now deal with the fact that this is a part of our reality? Guns, they're here. So now can we get to the root of why you want to pick up a gun?
Yeah.
Okay.
You mentioned the lack of there being a program to help seniors with housing. Is there any other, not that you may see, do you think, let me put it this way, are there enough programs available, COVID aside, because I know, that has had an impact, but do you think the city provides enough programming to help us tackle whatever the major or the top 3 issues in the city are? So if you could narrow it down into, categories and whatever the top 3, do you think there are services available that would tackle them, or does that need to be?
I would say probably not. I mean, when we talk education, my issue with education is that I think we need to do a streamlined audit of the budget. I think there's a lot of waste in the city government, period, that needs to be weeded out and actually can be made into some real impactful programs. There are some, depending on what it is. Again, like you said, you got senior programs, but there are no real low income homeowner assistance program. And when I say low income, I'm talking about people that are out here working every day struggling to pay that mortgage. You know, there are no programs for them. You know, they do take care of the seniors, they try to, but you know, there's a dearth of programs for them. I think we have a serious issue with food access and healthy food access, and actually putting into some real programs in there. I have to shout out my brother Duran Chavis, who's out here doing major work with his resiliency gardens. But why aren't we funding that? You
And
know?
he has run into so many walls.
Right, I know. You know,
So
why
many.
aren't we funding to feed folks? You know, instead of trying to put them on assistance. You know, so I think there are programs, but they need to be repurposed. I mean, because there's a lot of waste in them. Like I said, one of them is the affordable housing tax fund that a lot of people advocate for. I think is another tool that developers use. You know, so writing some of those things, I think, I mean, the money is there. When you're talking $700-800 million budget, we could definitely streamline a lot of that and help folks. But it has to come from first your heart of the leader who actually sit here, you know, and not have your own vested interest and actually want to do something for the people, you know, besides, you know, every
Political
4 years.
aspirations.
Yeah, every 4 years at a certain time of the year, you out here swinging for the folks. And then the rest of the years, you're out here swinging for big business or whoever else interest is lining your pockets. So again, I think there's a lot that we could do, but again, it has to be repurposed and actually put on the forefront of let us see where our tax dollars are going. You know, in the city of Richmond, we have probably the highest taxes, but we're not getting our bang for the buck. You know, so again, let me see where my money is going. You know, and what I think we as citizens need to understand is that our taxes pay. So these cops, these teachers, the council, they're employees. They work for you.
Right.
My taxes pay for that. So, I mean, don't be afraid to ask the questions. Where's my money going?
We talk about, you mentioned education. Where do you stand on how can we better fund our schools, and how can we get the Richmond Public Schools up to par with the surrounding counties?
I think we need to find some new ways to stream some revenue. We go through this every year. Every year we have to go and advocate to the state for more money. And the state is really not obligated to do anything for us. So again, we go through this cycle every year just like a hamster on a wheel. You know, we go through this every year advocating. All the kids and their parents and the students and teachers are marching to Capitol to ask for more money. You know, the city, I think, should advocate more of their budget towards education. Education is a key property to everything within the city. You know, to slow down the crime rate, you know, biggest thing. But again, some of those things they need to really take an honest effort and look at. But again, who's really going to do that? Who's going to be the one to step up and do that? I think, in my opinion, RPS is top heavy in administrative pay. I mean, I'm gonna just tell it like it is. I mean, we're paying $200,000 or better for administrators. This is not a $200,000 city that we should be paying budget. We should be paying salaries like that. Whereas the teachers are scraping by.
Right.
I always believe in building from the bottom up, and I think that's the biggest issue is not taking care of these teachers financially, emotionally, and just supporting them all the way around. So they vote for other counties who pay them more and treat them better. You know, so, I mean, let's start from the bottom up and build. That's how you build from the bottom up, not down, from top down.
And when you're talking about funding, a few years ago, the city put a food tax in place to help fund the schools. Is that helping, or are we still falling short even with the additional taxes that the city had already voted on a couple of times now.
All right, so I was an advocate for the meals tax. I sat in on some of the meetings in the beginning. I did advocate for it because initially we wanted to raise the debt capacity so that we could actually build 5 schools. 5 schools is what was proposed. We ended up with 3 schools that are costing probably twice what the surrounding counties were building school for.
Oh.
So basically, for each one of those buildings, we could have got 2 schools if they were in the counties. And I think there's an issue again with the companies that they allowed to do the construction. You know, again, I don't think there's an open process. They always said it is, but there's not an open bid process. They pick who they want to pick. And again, we got 3 schools that cost that we could have got 6 schools built for.
Wow.
Yeah, honestly.
Wow. Y'all, I hope y'all hearing that, listening, and taking into effect of how a lot of mismanagement is going in Richmond.
Yeah, I mean, and again, like I said, I advocated for the meals tax.
But that was under the guise that you would have
Right.
these.
Right, we needed 5 new schools,
Yeah.
and I understand that, and I don't have a problem doing my part.
Right.
I try to spend my money within the city anyway.
Mhm.
I want to keep my money within that. So, I mean, Richmond has great restaurants, so that was an easy choice for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
You know, but
You going to eat anyway.
yeah, looking back on it now, I can't say that I wouldn't still advocate for it, but I would definitely want to be streamlined in the process
Gotcha.
because, you know, it popped up with 3 schools and we were looking for 5. So, you know, that process, I don't know exactly how it got to that,
Right.
you know, but I definitely would like to know what happened. So I still think I would advocate for it. I mean,
Yeah.
if it actually works now. They tried to push a real estate tax too, through which I wouldn't advocate for that ever. Those real estate tax hike.
Because you fighting for housing now. So
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people are screaming bloody murder now because they just got their assessments like in the last couple of days, and
Really?
it's been crazy. Like some of the increases, but the assessment process is another thing that needs to be dealt with. I went to a few meetings a few years ago when they were dealing with the same subject, and I found out that everyone doesn't get assessed the same way. You get some folks that get assessments every year, then you get some folks who might not get assessment but every 5 years.
When we was in the city, and we was in the city for at least 4 years, and we never received an assessment on our property. We never,
Exactly.
and we was in the 6th district.
Right.
Yeah, so we never received.
Yeah, so it's definitely uneven.
Reginald Coles. Willie Hilliard for mayor of Richmond. Okay. There are also opportunities for funding from private sector sources for school partners. See Project Lift in the Charlotte Mecklenburg schools in Charlotte. So that worked for them. Private sector
Now,
funding.
one of the things that I'm advocating for is property tax reform, and what we're actually advocating for is a split rate tax program, which we think would drive incentive to actually get people to build and bring a revenue stream that we can actually use for the schools. And what the split rate tax does, it incentivizes folks who own some of these properties, vacant properties that don't build on them, to actually incentivize them to build. But we would like to see some affordable housing built on those, but that's a revenue stream that we think we can actually push towards RPS where we don't have to be begging the state every year.
When you talk about affordable housing, what is your assessment of affordable housing? Because everyone has a thought process behind what's affordable or not. Because what's affordable to me might not be affordable to you. So what do you believe affordable housing is, and what is it not?
All right. Well, first of all, I would say that, and it's ironic because I am an affordable housing advocate, but I don't like the term affordable housing. I think that a lot of developers have learned the language of affordable housing, and they use it to take advantage of tax incentives by saying we're going to build affordable housing within our development. But the question is, again,
How many of those do you make available?
right, and what do you classify as affordable? And it may not be what we classify affordable is. What I classify affordable is safe, clean housing that doesn't break your back to pay. You know what I mean? That you shouldn't have to take the bulk of your income just to stay in your home. That you can live and still be able to enjoy life, you know, in a general purpose or a general way, just like everyone else does, but not have to worry about paying your bill or paying that mortgage every month. So when I say affordable, it's affordable to what you can afford, or what you can pay, or what your salary, you know, or rather your income states.
Because that might have that kind of speaks to the question I was gonna ask, because I don't know whether maybe you can get some insight. And I think that's what's going on with all of these condos that's popping up all over the place in the cities, and they're saying they can provide affordable housing, but just because of how developers work and how the real estate industry works, that I can build what a 200-300 residential area and only have to make 5 of those available for affordable housing. So I think that's what's happening, but can you speak to a little bit of whether that's your opinion or not? Or
That's exactly what's happening.
okay.
What we would like to do is have these developers come in and meet with us as a community. And what we want to work on is community benefits agreements, where we sit down and say, this is what we want. And before you can build, you got to give us X amount of units of real affordable housing at this range of price, because this is what the folks can afford.
Okay.
And that's not what's being done. Again, they're making their own prices, you know, and I think we need to make a guideline for that, that if you want to come into our community, we want X amount. So if you're going to build 100 apartments, we want 50 of them. And we want them in this price range. You know, so those are the things that we need to sit down and have. You know, we want to do some inclusionary zoning, which again would bring in the folks and actually give them an opportunity to set their own rate as to what we can pay and what they can stand. You know, and go from there. Folks just want to have a nice place, a safe place to live, and if you give them the opportunity, they'll take care of it.
Right.
And we've seen that with the development over in Southside. What's Blackwell, the Blackwell development, and we've also seen in the north side with the Dove development. The thing that kind of bothered me with those two developments is at the time we were working class people, and because we couldn't qualify with two adults that wasn't bringing in $100,000 with 3 kids at the time. And we still couldn't qualify to be able to get something to start us. How do you write policies or look at policies and giving starting families an opportunity just because they're not broke or it's not a single income? How do you give those families the opportunity to get in somewhere as a starting point of home ownership? Because we know what has happened in this country and what has happened in this city. Once you own something, you can almost do anything. But trying to get to the ownership process, it is very, very tough.
I mean, startup is a key word. If we could get some starter assistance, when you talk about people getting starter homes, and I wouldn't put that on the range, because I feel you. You know, you're stuck at working and you make a decent salary, you know what I mean, but it puts you in the middle. So you're not legally, or what they say, poor or low income, but you're not middle class either as their qualifications of what that is. So you're kind of stuck in the middle, and there is nothing really for you. So yes, definitely having what I would call some kind of starter programs, you know, where you can actually give folks assistance and even walk them through it, you know, the process of actually being able to buy a home, and maybe even if it's an educational program where you go through the program, you get everything in order, and then we give you X amount of dollars as your down payment. But you got to go through the program, and I think the city have had some stuff like that. But again, they always focus on low income or seniors, not the folks that are out here working, struggling to pay and trying to get that. There's really nothing for us, because I'm in the same boat.
Yeah.
We're not rich enough to be rich, but we work enough not to be
poor.
Absolutely.
But then struggle monthly to get stuff paid for, and then you want to actually enjoy some of your life as well.
Right.
And I think that's a delicate balance on a lot of things that we got going on in this city. How we talk. Well, I keep harping on housing because I think housing really defines a lot of things that we got in the city. We talk about the teachers. How do we incentivize the teachers into living in the communities that they teach in? Because I know growing up we would have 2 or 3 teachers in our community. And how do we incentivize that without damaging the property rate or the thing? How do we keep our teachers in our schools and in our community?
Well, we lost the battle on pay. Because, if we could pay them a serious salary, which they deserve. I've always thought that teachers should be one of the highest paid positions in the country because they have so much to do and they got to take care of our knuckleheads. I want to say there's probably been some programs over the years that may have been incentivizing for them to actually live within the city. I know the police department may have done some programs like that where they give some of their officers incentive to actually die within the city. So maybe we should do some of those things. But again, it's got to be at a rate that they can afford because, they don't make the best salaries. So what good is getting them assistance in the home that they can't pay for? So maybe some kind of programs that we can get them and some kind of incentives to actually want to be in the city. But at the same time, we need to pay them a rate, pay them a salary, a real, what we call family supportive wages that they can actually take care of a home and a family with. And I think they would definitely want to live within the city.
I didn't have anything else. Make sure he has anything he wants to leave with the people.
Okay, one more. With nonprofits and churches, how do you see in your city that you're going to be fighting for? How do you see their role? And not just Baptist churches or Christian churches. I'm talking about the whole religious spectrum. How do you see their role, and what part of the city do they play?
As far as the churches, I would like to see them more in the community. The folks have issues, and they can be, let's put it that way, they can be disrespectful. But they ain't gonna disrespect the priest, pastor. They ain't gonna disrespect the pastor. You know what I mean? Everyone has a pastor in their community, whether they go to church on a regular basis or not. So I would like them to actually, get feet on the ground and actually go into these communities, and not just when there's a shooting and then everybody wants to show up in the front of the camera.
Jesus.
And make a big ado about what we're going to do. And then you don't see them again until the next shooting comes and we're back in front of the cameras. Get into these communities, man. If you're fearful, you can take somebody with you. You know what I mean? But don't be afraid of your people, man. I'm nobody special. I'm not a preacher, but I don't have a problem going to any of these communities. And we talk it out. We work it out. As far as the nonprofits, there are some really, really great nonprofits in the city, especially minority owned. The issue is that minority owned nonprofits get left out of the funding. I'm just going to tell it like it is. We have to do, and I do have a nonprofit too, which is an affordable housing nonprofit, but funding, we got to do 10 times as much as our counterparts, and we still may not get the funding.
Right.
You know, so fund the people. One time, just try it and see what happens. Give us a chance. You know, I mean, we're already doing the work without the funding.
Right.
So I mean, if you give us the funding, we can actually do some impactful things within this community. You know, but I mean, it's a cycle because again, certain folks hold control of the money.
But you would think, since it's, you know, you got your strange folk moving into the neighborhood, you would want to see
Right.
that impact as
Right.
well, because now this is your neighborhood as well. So
Exactly.
whatever happens is going to impact you.
Exactly. And I mean, I don't know, in Northside, in certain neighborhoods of Northside, and I'm not gonna name them, people have been very intense about being community based.
Okay.
They wanna come in and help. They just don't know how.
Gotcha.
You know, we got to get out of our space of saying we don't want to deal with them and show them the way. They want to. I mean, in one community, we started a diversity and inclusion group.
Okay.
And I said, it's in Battery Park. We started a diversity and inclusion group. And we sit down and we talk about the real issues. And, you know, I'm always swinging at them. I let them know just what y'all doing. You know, and I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But they're accessible to it and they want to do better. So, you know, we just got to sit down and actually just want to build, you know, because we as a community, we as black folks, we don't have the resources to pick up and move because y'all move next to us.
Absolutely.
So we pretty much we're going to stay here unless we get taxed out
Right.
or we lose our jobs
Yeah.
or something like that. We ain't going away.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's time to deal with us, you know. When we had a reunion, don't stand at the top of the hill and watch us. Come on down.
Mm-hmm.
We don't bite. We as people are very inviting. You know, that's us. That's our nature.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of those folks don't know that, but we are. We might not. We may have a hard facade. I mean, I'm one myself. We have a hard shell, and it just come from being black in America.
Absolutely.
But the core of us is good-hearted folks. And that's what we want to do is just build and live amongst each other, you know, and just build a real community. So just come in and just want to be a part. Don't come in and want to set your own rules because you're going to get a lot of resistance. And again, we ain't going nowhere.
As far as you know, with all the civil unrest that has been going on in the city, all the protests, all the intrusion or infiltration of the movements. How do you see your relationship with working with the police if elected the city council representative of the 3rd District?
Well, I mean, I've been dealing with the police department for several years now. I mean, you know, especially being the executive director of the historic Brooklyn Park Collective. So on that corridor, we have to deal with them on a regular basis. Then I have several of them that are personal clients of mine. A lot of their tactics, a lot of their maneuvers need to be changed. I think we need to. A lot of folks are talking about defunding the police. I don't necessarily like that term, but I understand the implications of what it means, and I totally agree with it. I think that we need to demilitarize our police. And when I say that, I'm talking about the rubber bullets, the tear gas, and we can't be doing that to our own people. Take those funds, you know what I mean, and put them in the programs that actually will impact.
Should be fund reallocation.
Right, and actually impact the communities that have been most affected by this over-policing and systemic racism. You know, show some real effort to actually want to help. But again, they need a lot of training on de-escalation and actually community policing. We grew up in communities where we knew the cops. They walked the beat. They knew us by name. We don't have that now. You know, the cops act like they're afraid of people at sometimes. Some of them do. Anyway, I mean, the good ones are out here, but they're a minority. And they get drowned out by the other voices. So again, you know, if we can get some of those guys in there and actually, you know, put them at the forefront of some of these movements within their departments, you know, because they're the actual ones on the streets that know the people and know how to deal with people. So, you know, put them at the forefront because I mean, uh, we got a police chief that doesn't know the city, and I mean it's not his fault. He's not from here,
Right.
you know. But I think you need to learn the city and learn the people before you started ruling on how we're gonna deal with whatever situation comes down. Because this is a different city. Richmond's a different city than anywhere else, you know. And we were very resistant, and we will resist to the end if you allow it. So, you know, just come in and really just learn and figure out where you can fit in this community. Because you may be a chief, or you may be a lieutenant, or you may be the mayor, but you're still part of this community. You're only one entity within this community that puts this puzzle together. So come in as a puzzle piece, trying to fit in.
Oh, Aaron was just saying Chief Durham was good with community policing.
Absolutely, he
Yeah.
was.
Yep. I had one more. I had one more question that I wanted to ask.
Write it down.
I did not. I need to start doing that. Oh, as we've seen the growth in this city over in Scott's Addition, how do we get that same similar type boom in business in the hardest hit part of our city where we can use those jobs and those things to be able to have nicer edifice all the way around?
I think that a lot of what's going on in Scott's Additions, a lot of centers have been given out to actually get people to go into those areas. What I would like to see, especially along like Chamberlain Avenue and some of our other corridors, is that we do some smaller development, but actually give some small companies a chance to actually get into the economic development of this city. The city seems to use like one or two of the same, especially minority contractors. What I would like to see is, you know, we allow some small companies, I mean, when I say small companies, I'm talking 25 employees or less, who are very capable of doing the work. And let these people come in and get some of these jobs and actually give them a chance to build some generational wealth for themselves and them families. And at the same time, we get a whole new community being built. You know, if it takes piece by piece, but those big shiny projects that we tried to, or some folks have tried to bring down the pike, is just not going to work for a city this size. But we can do some real small development with some folks who are actually foot on the ground and actually show that we really care about our people. You know, but the incentive to build needs to come. And I think that's what has happened in Scott's Addition. Because, I mean, Scott's Addition was, I mean, let's be truthful. What's the attraction about Scott's Addition? Well, let me reclassify that.
Okay.
What was the attraction?
Why? What made it Scott?
Yeah.
Was the attraction
Yeah.
of Scott's Addition
Yeah.
20 years ago? When
It
it
was
was just a
rough
bunch
around-
of
it was
exactly
rough
just
around
a bunch
that
of
joint.
a bunch of warehouses. And don't get me wrong, it has came up, but can you raise a family in Scott's Addition? I mean, some people can, but I need grass. I need a
Right.
yard.
Yeah.
And you're not getting that over there.
No.
But everybody runs the Scott's Addition. So I think it's incentives that they've given to them to build it up. So let's get that into some of our neighborhoods as well. But no Scott's Addition. I'm talking 20 years ago.
20 years.
You know,
20
y'all were
years
nothing
ago.
but a bunch of warehouses.
We had actually, me and my cousin was talking about that one day. We went on a walk around the new James River area down by the bridge on Hall Street. It was like, man, we'd have known this 20, 30 years ago, we'd have bought up some warehouses that was like $15,000.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
What do you have to say? Because we talk about African American black people and we talk about white people a lot. What do you have to say for our Latino community that is in this city and they're booming and they're bursting on the scene?
Honestly, I think they need a lot of programs, a lot of aid. The biggest issue with the Latin community is fear. These people are fearful of being deported, of being slighted. We have to take ICE out of our city, first and foremost. But, I mean, these people are here, but they're not comfortable. And who wants to live somewhere where you're not comfortable? I mean, and then I know a guy who lives in over Jeff Davis, Augustine, and a couple of years ago I met him and he was talking about the trailer park that he lives in where they've got stagnant water standing, and the landlord has basically told him it's nothing he gonna do because if you make too much noise, we're gonna deport y'all. You know, so they live in that fear, and
Wow.
I mean it's almost like being incarcerated.
Right.
You know, because you don't have the freedom to live and breathe and be yourself, because you're worrying about, you know, being mistreated or being carted off and shipped back wherever you came from, where you may not even actually came from.
Right.
There.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then we have this zealot up there in D.C. who's talking crazy about, you know, what he wants to do to these folks, but you don't have a problem with a certain fair-skinned immigrant coming into our country.
Right.
Yeah, but you
Right.
have a real problem with them, and I think that's the biggest thing is we actually have to be very supportive of them. I mean, they're here.
Yeah.
They're our people. You know what I mean? So we have to treat them that same way and take that fear factor
And
away.
they want the same things to
Exactly.
take care of their family.
They want to work
Yeah.
hard. They want to come in here and build a family
Yeah.
and build a life just like we do.
Yeah.
You know, that's funny. I heard this thing before. It was like, yo, when they do raids, they're doing raids at people's jobs. So these people are actually at work.
I'm at work.
But you just
I'm
wanna-
not bothering a soul.
But you're gonna raid my job, and because I'm at work, I can't run nowhere. I can't go nowhere, and I'm trying to take care of my family.
Yeah.
And that's all that people want, is to be able to take care of their family and be able to live in a safe environment
That's it. That's all we want. That's it.
and have good schools. Lord, we need this.
Yes. That's it.
As far as getting back on school, one of the things that we see in the counties are the technical centers and the upgrade of technical centers and actually having programming inside the schools that help different career paths. How do we mirror some of the stuff the county has going into the Richmond Public Schools?
First of all, I think that we need to, as a school system, employ the kids the fact that you can be successful in life without having to go to college. I think a lot of the schools are pushing everybody to on a college track, and everybody is not college material. Every kid is not college material. What they need to understand is that you can still have a successful career without going to college. The issue is probably strengthening our technical school programs and getting the stigma out. When I was in school, you know, we thought the tech was remedial.
No.
You know, I mean, when I was in school, if you went to the tech, that was because you was messing up the school.
And
And that was your only incentive.
And about 20 years later, when everybody was trying to get to the tech because it was not regular school.
Right.
I was trying to get to the
See,
tech.
that's something
I was
else.
trying to get to the
you
tech.
wasn't trying to get there to get no real
To get
school.
real
You just
school.
wanted to
No,
get out of school.
No, because they had no. All right, let me clarify.
Okay, because that's what it sounds like.
They had a catering program at the tech center.
Okay.
And I wanted to go to the catering program because I wanted to go to the tech. That's why I wanted to go to the tech. But then Miss Tunstall, love Miss Tunstall, she was like, you don't have to do that because what we have here. And she kind of introduced me to some stuff. I don't think in our regular school, especially high school and middle school, I don't think they deal with the kids that want to do alternative things well, as far as trade. As far as plumbers, as far as things you can do with your hand, carpentry. Because Lord knows, living where I live at, we had issues with plumbing. And I would love to have a young black person or somebody of my community to come in and handle plumbing. When we don't tell people that plumbers make about $40 an hour to come. It's $180 just to come to your house plus what you got to do. And I don't think we take that into consideration, how much a trash man actually makes. Because we want to look down. They think working at the bank is actually a better job than doing sanitation.
Yeah. Or we got to let everybody know that you're not going to be a basketball player or a supermodel. You know, there's only X amount of jobs in that field. So what happens for you? Again, we gotta incentivize and push the fact that you can be successful without college, and actually get them a real career path. I have a cousin, 19, just graduated, and so I've talked to him because I talk to all the kids the same way, and he was just like, well, man, I want to learn HVAC so I can renovate houses. I was like, no, learn HVAC, get into a company, work with someone, 2 years, and work for yourself. You can make great money, and I just started breaking down the money that you can make. Man, you make $85 just roll up in the house and don't do anything. You know what I mean? So we got to actually push and show these people or these kids, the actual benefits of going another route. That you can actually be real successful, and you don't have to go to college.
And then coming out with a house note to pay back.
Right.
We had
So
a few
I think
comments. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I think that again the schools need to really push that. Put some programs in place that put you on a different track. That I think once maybe 7th or 8th grade, you should have a clear understanding of whether I'm going to college or not. And once you get to high school, you either take the vocational track or you take the college track. Whichever one benefits you.
And that's crazy you should mention that, because when I was in accounting, and my first exposure to tech happened in the 7th and 8th grade. They started then on a summer program that let us know whether we were interested by the time we got to college.
Right.
But they did that in accounting. My exposure once I was eligible 11th and 12th grade to go to the tech, I already knew my teachers from 7th and 8th grade. So they had that available, but I hadn't heard that at all when we were living in the city. Just no access to that whatsoever, and for our children, of course. But yeah, it wasn't. We had a few comments. If you back up a little bit, Aaron was also saying the new chief has not walked the community and met the people. That should have been week 1.
Well, the old chief didn't either.
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of people like Will Smith. I never met him.
Okay.
And I asked to meet him. I asked him to come on Brooklyn Park. We had a shooting over there, December of 18, I think it was. I might be wrong. He was interim chief at the time. We had a shooting on Brooklyn Park. A kid got killed. And I sent an email to him, asking for some assistance over here on Brooklyn Park and actually come out and meet us and see what's going on. Never saw him. Never saw him.
That's crazy. Your mother, Dawn Davis, said this is giving me a realistic view of the 3rd District 3 race. And then Aaron also said he's right. I know some of the people in the Latino community. It's a lot of fear in their community as well.
All right. Anesta says correctional education used to have barbering, woodworking, and small engine repair in the late 80s and 90s, and did away with it in 2003. How do you go about looking into our juvenile justice department and offering vocational and technical training as well in there?
Again, just offering those programs. Our teacher of the year last year, Rodney Robinson, that's where he taught at, the Virgie Benford. Don't get me wrong, I can't remember the name exactly, but I mean, he dealt in juvenile justice. And Rodney went bent over backwards twofold trying to help these kids. We need to put those programs in there for them. I mean, again, what will they do when they get out? Especially when they're in a confinement, you know what I mean? Environment, rather. That's the time that they need to go into school. You have nowhere else to go. So now, let's figure out where you want to go when you leave here. And actually try to put in an educational track. Put in barbering. Put in some kind of entrepreneurial programs that these kids can actually go into once they get out. Because that's all it's about. That's all crime is about. And I ain't going to say that's all it is, but the major thing is people hungry. And they want to eat. And if I don't have money to buy food, then I'm going to steal it. If I can't steal it, then I'm going to sell something to get the money. People just have a need. And we need to be able to provide for that or show them a way that they can actually take care of their needs legally.
And that's crazy because the mother's comment, of course, the state is going to be a reflection of the city and vice versa. And if, she was working in correctional education and the state did away with it in the 80s and 90s, of course, the city was not going to,
they won't pick
follow
it up.
suit,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's an issue.
Anything you want to lead the people, because we bought it at an hour.
Okay.
Anything you want to lead the people with?
I would just say, again, the biggest reason that I'm running for council is that Richmond is a great city to live in, but we have a lot of inequities in education that allow us, our children to go to schools that are falling apart with instruction that is far behind some of their surrounding counties. I think we have an inequity in housing within the city that allows people to be sleeping on the streets in multitudes, and we're talking families on the streets. I think we have an inequity in economic development, again, because certain neighborhoods are booming and others are not. So we just want to address some of those inequities and actually do the work of actually helping people within this community and just empowering them. So as long as I'm here and I got the breath in me, that's what we're going to do. We want to do some different things on city council, and myself and a few other candidates or new candidates that are out there, hopefully if we all can get in, we will see some transformational things within this city. And I would just say, shout out to Amy Wentz and Alan Charles Chipman. You know what I mean? These people, if we can get them in, we will do some transformational stuff within this city. So we just ask for your support to actually do the work of the people. So I'm Willie Hilliard. You can check me on williehilliard.com. And all my platform is up there. You can find out just what we're working on and where we're trying to go and where we're trying to build. And maybe if you want to help us and fit in, you can reach us there. So again, I thank you for this time. I'm not big on talking about myself, but we're just about to work. And if you see me, I'm going to be working somewhere.
That's it.
All right, we want to thank you. Also, I'm going to say this personally. I'm going to get this out there. He ain't tell me to say this ain't on him. If people ain't been working in your community before they start running and just trying to run off a name, they ain't for you for real, because they're going to disappear and going to take all of it to their folk that they know. Don't let these people names and what their parents did in this city confuse you about who you should vote for or who has your best interest. Vote for people that have been working without the title. Vote for people that's going to work with the title and be able to show you what they doing and willing to come speak and talk to you. Because some folk, all they want to do put a sign in your yard, and try to perpetrate that they working with you. But some of them had to take a sabbatical before they got into office and run across the country. I said it. I ain't free. Bernie Mac said, he ain't say it. This me. I ain't scared of you. Come see me.
So please don't come see us.
We also special needs kids and people.
That's it. She asked you
actually
please encourage advocacy.
Advocacy for mental health stuff.
Absolutely.
Please encourage that.
Absolutely.
When you get in there as well.
That's big on my platform as well. And I would just say this in closing that a lot of people talk a lot about the homeless, and I think the biggest issue with the homeless folks is mental health issues. They have mental health issues. We all have to deal with some at some time, and we may not even know that we have our own problems. I mean, I didn't realize it, but I've suffered from PTSD over the years. I mean, it took me years to realize it, and I didn't get any help for it. So mental health services is absolutely imperative.
Thank y'all for tuning in. Another edition of the Tell the Truth podcast. We are back. We are off summer vacation. We are back every week. around 6, 7, 8-ish. We'll be here. You can also catch us on anywhere you streaming your podcast. Spotify, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, to catch and replay this interview. If you want to check us out every week, we talk a little trash, we talk a little stuff. We're mostly entertainment and getting people in that's going to encourage and help your life out. But we also got to be responsible, and so we're going to start bringing a little bit, especially in this time, a little bit more candidates in to be able to discuss. In October, we're going to have Shonda Harris Muhammad, who is running for the 6th District School Board. And if any candidate wants to come on to our show and talk about what they're running, if you're running for something, and you want to go and express your views, come on our show. We'll talk with you. We're open to any and everybody. You might not be able to do it in Studio 7206, but we'll rock with you wherever you need to.
It's okay. We got sage bundles. It's okay.
We'll talk with you. We'll get with you and allow you to put your platform and stuff out there. We thank again Candidate Hilliard for coming and sliding by the basement and sliding. And you know how they used to be on Rap City, Rap City the basement. That's right. Sliding by the basement, and this is a good platform, low key. We usually have a wine of the week, but we didn't want.
It's okay.
We didn't want to. We didn't want to put that in front of you
Yeah.
while you're running for office. I know, I understand, but we want to make sure that you are seen right with the people.
Yeah.
We're not gonna. We said don't put no temptations out there.
But the people know me.
The people know.
They know me.
But you can catch them at the Fuzzy Navel on Thursday.
That's right.
Margarita night.
That's right.
So we thank you again. Appreciate you. Y'all have a wonderful
Good night,
evening.
y'all.
Good night.
Peace.
Finish and post.
Can you not show everybody our house?
And share. No. Share the blue button. Woo! Y'all almost deleted the whole thing.